Do you know why us millennials aren't dating or getting married? Are we anxious about love or marriage? No, it's money we're worried about.
This came from a random street interview by a TV crew. Do you believe in love?
I don't believe in love.
Do you have love in your life?
I don't have love.
Do you want to find love?
I don't want to find love.
Why not?
Because I don't have money.
In this video, a young man being interviewed said,
I'm currently not working. I'm a full-time grandson. I take care of my nearly 90-year-old grandparents at home. I'm part of the 4 no's youth. No dating, no marriage, no buying a house, no kids. I'm pretty happy with this state. I'm a local from Tianjin. Right now, I'm just living off my parents, lying flat, letting things go, because it's pointless. Working doesn't mean getting paid. In Tianjin, wage arrears are a serious issue. Since working doesn't guarantee payment, why not just lie flat and let go?
When asked what industry he works in, the young man replied,
In the delivery industry. Even if you earn 10 or 20,000 a month, it's useless if the money doesn't reach your hands.
Regarding having children, the interviewer asked, Have you thought about responsibility and obligations? The young man answered,
When it comes to responsibility and obligations, there's another word that comes up. Pressure. The pressure is too much. What if I can't handle it? It's not that I'm incapable, but it's beyond my capacity. What hope can we see now? The only thing I can see is despair. Anyway, I don't think I'm living a satisfactory life. I'm already toiling like an ox or horse. Why would I want to bring another being into the world to live the same life?
The young man in the video clearly realizes that in Chinese society, he feels his existence akin to an ox or a horse. Here, this expert also understands the current younger generation's choice of not marrying or not having children. He said,
Not having children now is actually a correct mindset. Many young people don't want to get married due to 3 major pressures. The first is the uncertainty about their own future. Facing an uncertain future, do we dare to carry such a heavy burden?
Can you believe this is a large-scale matchmaking event where countless parents are seeking matches for their children? In China, the concept of remaining unmarried and childless starkly contrasts with the traditional belief that the greatest filial piety is to produce offspring. As a result, this modern viewpoint from young people was met with opposition from the majority of parents in earlier years. Many parents resorted to various tactics to pressure their children into dating, marrying, and having children. However, recently, there has not only been a steep rise in the number of young people choosing not to marry or have children, but even some older parents have been compelled to yield to financial constraints, immense pressure, and an unpredictable future. They are increasingly supporting the perspectives of the younger generation.
When I was starting a family, 500 yuan was enough. 5,000 yuan was also okay. But for you to start a family with 50,000 yuan, would you dare? If it costs a man 500,000 yuan to marry, would he dare to take a wife?
These 2 older ladies also showed a deep understanding of the current trend of young people not marrying or having children. One of them said, Getting married now doesn't seem to have any benefits. The other added, Maybe thinking about the heavy burden of having children after marriage, the fear of too much pressure, job instability, all these make young people hesitant to start a family, scared to get married and have children. A man commented,
You can't even find a job out there. It's not about not getting married. It's that you can't afford to marry, can't afford to have children, can't afford to buy a house. And if you fall ill, you can't afford treatment. That's the end of it.
The video recorder asked the man,
If you were to go back to your 20s, would you choose to get married and have children?
He replied,
Given the current social and economic climate, I wouldn't get married either. It's a social issue now, not just an individual family's problem. The pressure on young people is immense. There are many who don't get married, both men and women.
According to the latest 2022 Civil Affairs Development Statistical Bulletin published by China's Ministry of Civil Affairs, the annual number of marriages in China has been in a continuous decline since reaching a peak of 13.5 million couples in 2013. By 2022, over a period of 9 years, the number of marriages fell below 10 million in 2019 and then dropped under 7 million by 2022. The consistently decreasing marriage rate inevitably leads to a more severe consequence, a reduction in the birth rate. In early December 2023, Liang Jianzhang, Ren Zeping, Huang Wenzheng, and other scholars from the China Population and Development Research Association stated that China's current fertility rate is among the lowest globally. They pointed out that the 2022 fertility rate was less than 1.1, only half of the replacement level, 2.1, ranking at the bottom worldwide. Since 2017, the number of births in China has declined for 6 consecutive years. The scholars predict that if the total fertility rate remains low, China will fall into sustained negative population growth. At the 2023 Medical Innovation and Technology Frontier Forum held on August 8, 2023, Qiao Jie, an academician of the China Academy of Engineering and director of the medical department of Peking University, noted that China's newborn population had declined by about 40% in the past 5 years. In 2022, the total number of births was 9.56 million, and it's expected that the number of births in 2023 will be about 7 to 8 million. It was the first time that this decline in population was mentioned by an officially government-approved expert. Data listed in the China Statistical Yearbook 2023, compiled and published by the National Bureau of Statistics, also showed that in 2022, the number of first marriages in China was 10.5 million, a 55.9% decrease from the peak of 23.9 million in 2013, and a 9.2% decline from 2021. Typically, marriage registration data includes first marriages and remarriages. The increase or decrease in the number of first marriages more directly reflects changes in the overall number of births. The China Population and Employment Statistics Yearbook 2023, officially released, shows that in 2022, among various age groups, the unmarried rate for those aged 25 to 29 was 51.3%, and for those aged 30 to 34, it reached 18.4%, while the rate for the 35 to 39 age group was 8%. Currently, a primary reason believed for the low fertility rate is the high cost of childbirth. According to the income and expenditure data released by the National Bureau of Statistics and various price estimates, the average cost of raising a child from birth to university graduation in a Chinese family is about 627,000 yuan, equivalent to around 88,000 US dollars. If the cost of raising a child to the age of 18 is calculated as a multiple of the per capita GDP in the country, Australia is 2.08 times, France is 2.24 times, Sweden is 2.91 times, Germany is 3.64 times, the USA is 4.11 times, Japan is 4.26 times, and China is 6.9, almost the highest in the world. With shrinking total population and the loss of this crucial supporting factor, China will face the dilemma of potential economic growth slowdown and a decline in social vitality in the future. In recent years, to address the continuous decline in birth rates, the authorities have gradually relaxed family planning restrictions, starting with allowing 2 children and then 3, but the population has continued to decline instead of increasing. The number of newborns in China reached a new low in 2022. To mitigate the trend of low birth rates and address the issue of social attitudes like fear of childbirth and unwillingness to have children, James Liang, chairman of the board of C-Trip Group and population economist, once suggested that a monthly cash subsidy of 1,000 yuan be given to each child in 2-child families and 2,000 yuan for each child in multi-child families until the age of 20. Many experts and scholars believe that the best way to encourage young people to have children is for the authorities to provide substantial birth subsidies. There has been continuous heated discussion online about this. Wang He, an expert on Chinese issues, stated, "One reason is that Chinese society is in a state of near disintegration, with a poor economy, declining traditional culture, and a lack of good values to support the healthy development of society. It's caused by political, economic, and cultural factors. For example, many people can't afford to get married due to the high housing prices and expensive dowries. Many people say during the pandemic that we are the last generation. I don't want to give birth to my child in the society to make him suffer." Weibo influencer Xu Weige posted, "Why is the birth rate falling? Because we've lost something. Hope. When hard work can't make you rich, knowledge can't change your fate. Most people spend half their lives slaving away for a bunch of concrete and steel, living worse than dogs. They don't want the next generation to suffer." Another netizen, the Lonely Traveler 03, commented, Those making policies at the top, living in luxury with money and power, have no idea of the struggles of the common people. A writer named Hai Ling replied, "So the chives have woken up too. It's hard to lead the team." Other comments said, "Children of officials grow up to be officials. Children of the poor remain poor. Rather than having the poor give birth to be servants to others, better not to have children. Let the children of officials fight among themselves." A Weibo influencer, Cheeky Guo Ballet, commented, "You reap what you sow. On one hand, they're cutting salaries and laying off workers. On the other, they're encouraging childbirth. It's a pipe dream. Forget about having children. Young people can't even afford to keep a dog, let alone have time to walk it. Now they're not giving birth, and in the future, they'll be too worn out to even do so. With related industries shrinking, another wave of unemployment will hit, and things will probably get even worse." A netizen called Brave Sister Nguyen Ge commented, "A father delivering food to pay for his child's education, and when the child graduates from college, he joins him in delivering food. Even if he finds a job, he might not earn as much as delivering food. What future does such a family have?" Others said, "Those who can afford it don't need the 2,000 yuan, and those who can't afford it aren't just lacking the 2,000 yuan. The key problem is the high cost of medical care and education. The child suffers after being born." Another netizen said, "The real reasons are high housing prices, high education, high medical costs, and high living expenses, coupled with low wages and low income, causing many married couples to fear having more children because they can't afford to raise, educate, or provide for them." A netizen, Wei Sheng, said, "The deeper root lies in the current high pressures of marriage and even greater pressures of life and childrearing. So experts' suggestions should be based first on solving the problems of marriage and childrearing. If the root problems are not addressed, no amount of advice will help. It's treating the symptoms, not the disease, and they can't even treat the symptoms." Another complained, "It's okay to have birth subsidies, but can we have free medical care until adulthood? Having to spend a lot on minor illnesses like a fever or a cold is too much." Another netizen said, "The key for the common people is to have money to earn. Solve that and everything else falls into place." Some netizens sarcastically said, "When the leeks stop growing, it's time to apply more fertilizer." And "People without children and vulnerabilities are harder to control." The term leeks is often used to describe common people who are being taken advantage of within the CCP system. However, many citizens are skeptical about the fertility and childcare subsidy plans, and on top of that, implementing them in China will be an uphill battle. Numerous scholars have pointed out that since the second half of 2023, due to insufficient financial resources, local authorities have significantly reduced the frequency of introducing related fertility and childcare subsidies. Additionally, in some regions, the announced subsidy policies have not been implemented and remain only on paper. In fact, the recent sharp decline in the number of marriages and births in China is also closely linked to the country's previously enforced mandatory family planning policy. Wang He said, "The CCP's implementation of family planning in the 80s has completely disrupted the natural cycle and balance of China's population. Traditional family and fertility norms have been utterly destroyed. As a result, those who want to get married can't afford it, and those who can afford it no longer want to." In the video, the man points out,
Back in the day, people desperately wanted to have kids, but they weren't allowed. Now the government is trying everything to get people to have kids, but no one's having them. They're not even getting married. Like they say in Animal World, when animals find their living conditions deteriorating, they stop reproducing.
On September 25, 1980, the Chinese government issued a directive for party members to take the lead in implementing the one-child policy, initiating decades of compulsory family planning policy, also known as the one-child policy. Compared to the countless massacres in human history, China's family planning policy, which led to the killing of a large number of unborn babies, is unparalleled in both scale and cruelty. The policy targeted the most vulnerable group in human society, defenseless fetuses and pregnant women. According to the China Health Statistics Yearbook 2010, released by Chinese authorities, between 1980 and 2009, there were 286 million cases of women undergoing IUD insertions, nearly 99 million women undergoing tubal ligation surgeries, and 275 million cases of induced abortions. China records at least 13 million surgeries involving abortion annually, the highest in the world. The U.S. State Department's data indicates that China has 23 million abortions per year, averaging over 63,013 unborn babies dying from abortion daily, which is about 43 abortions per minute. The total fertility rate in China, the average number of children born to a woman over her lifetime, dropped from an average of about 1.66 between 1991 and 2017 to 1.28 in 2020, and further to 1.15 in 2021, influenced by China's family planning policy. Public data shows that the last time birth figures in China were below 8 million was in 1939, during the 8 years of the anti-Japanese War. For the remaining years of the war, the birth figures fluctuated between 8 and 10 million. The development of the internet and the continuous introduction of VPN have allowed many Chinese citizens, especially the younger generation, to gradually wake up from years of brainwashing. Having been exposed to the real world outside and comparing it with the domestic situation in China, they are becoming more aware. They refer to themselves as leaks, the government as the harvester of leaks, and having children as producing leaks for the government. Not only have they awakened, but they have also made a tragic decision. The blogger in the video said,
"The Chinese government enslaves us all day, treats us like crops to be harvested, not as human beings, but as slaves. So, are we the last generation then? Play however you want to play, government. If you can kill me, then do it. It doesn't matter anymore. We can't choose where we're born, but we can choose where things end." The common people are making their final humble act of resistance against the government through their actions. The government can't lose. It never loses. It can only win. You hold a gun to our heads at the card table, forcing us to play. You win, you win, you win. But eventually, no one will play with you anymore. Isn't that what's happening now? The people have made a tragic choice. We can't choose to be born, but I can choose not to have the next generation play your game, because there won't be a next generation.
In the video, a man in the crowd shouts. He says, "Find his child. That's his vulnerability. I'm the child now. I'm the vulnerability. Let him find me. There's no next generation." The crowd also echoes, "No next generation. No next generation. We have no vulnerabilities. No vulnerabilities. Only backbone." The cry of "We are the last generation" originated from a viral video during the Shanghai lockdown in May 2022. The video captured a man with a negative PCR test result who, when he refused to be illegally transferred to a makeshift hospital, was threatened by police with punishment extending to his family's 3 generations, implying his children would also be implicated. The man calmly said, "This is our last generation, thank you." In today's China, although a majority of people are still unable to speak out due to fear of government violence, the lack of money, and uncertainty about the future, despair towards the government has forced many young people to choose not to marry or have children. They are decisively implementing the idea of "we are the last generation" through their actions.